Hi Gemini, welcome to your mid-month update for the month of June 2018. I'm Raina. The cards are laid out because I started saying all this bizarre stuff and I don't want to do that, so I'm going to just start from scratch. Okay. This is the kind of the theme for the end of the month, the Tower card. Now, by the way, this is the Druidcraft tarot deck. Now, you can see this is pretty faithful to Rider-Waite, which is why I ordered this deck, because I wanted a different deck that still was kind of, pretty faithful to the what I would call the template for the tarot. And you see the lightning strike. So we're talking about something suddenly out of the blue coming into your reality and changing everything up, shaking everything up. Now, if I just uttered that statement to a Taurus person, they would probably, start hyperventilating. But I think for Gemini people, it's pretty much a welcome change, because you may, like all human beings, have your reluctance, your issues that you're reluctant to change. That might be a quirk about you, that every other area of your life you are very changeable. And that one area, whether it's in your love life or in your work life, and you do not want that change. But really the Tower card is liberation. So whatever this is, if it's a job, if it's a pink slip, it's thank God. If it's a relationship where someone who has been really bad for you, toxic to you, says, I'm out of here, it's like, oh, thank God. Or you find out something about them, then thank God. But the point is that you're being liberated from it, if it's something like that. It can also be that you have this flash of inspiration, that you have that aha moment that kind of is the shift that you needed to make. Maybe you're at a crossroads in life and you see a sign and that kind of resonates within you, the synchronicity of it resonates with you, and you say, you know what, I think I'm being given a message from the universe that I need to do something about my life in this area. And it's like helping you. It's so funny. I just realized I have my sponge on my crystal. So I'm going to take that off if you don't mind. Doesn't look too good like that. Okay, so and then in other words, it's typical dualistic consciousness to look at the Tower and think, oh, that's bad, and something else is good. Now, some of the things that could seem good might be the worst thing for us, because they're not what we need at this time. The circumstances around our life are not what we need. If you're in a relationship with a really wonderful person who is really good for you, really, tries to challenge you to be the best person you can be, and I get the Sun card or I get the Lover's card, is that really good? That you're going to meet somebody new that you are tempted to fall in love with? So even so-called good cards can be negative, if you want to call it that, depending on the timing of the situation. In the past position, we have the Prince of Pentacles. This is coming into the situation. So this is the Knight of Pentacles. This is like work energy, so that could be hinting at what this is all about. This is a card of hard work. So it can be, inconsistent hard work. So if you're the type of person who has really given your all to a company that has given you a pink slip, just understand that they don't deserve you, and that the universe is making the space, the way for something much grander. And it's hard for us in that moment to see that. It's probably close to impossible to see it in that moment. All you can see is the loss. And yet there it is. Now, if this is in the private life, the Tower could be love at first sight. Don't they say when somebody sees somebody and it's love at first sight that they were struck by lightning? I thought that was kind of a thing that they say. But in any case, you might have that sensation of, wow, you know, and it's like there's no room for doubt. You just know that this person is really the one. And in that particular instance, the Prince of Pentacles, this could be in the workplace that you meet this person. They could be a Taurus specifically, or another earth sign, Capricorn, Virgo. Virgo features in to this reading, so maybe that's the past relationship that was with a Virgo. So the spiritual lesson in this is the Four of Wands, which is the card of a happy home. You know, maybe your dream home or a new life, but not. Sometimes it can be the physical home, but really in terms of what makes a home a home. And that's the thing. Yeah, you know, thinking about it in terms of this. Let's say you were with somebody and they make a very good living and you live in a very nice physical abode, you know, home. And yet something's missing. The love is missing. And you feel that sense of emptiness because you're not in the kind of situation that you wanted. Also, if for any reason that you have found out that you have been, you know, given the pink slip or something like that, the Four of Wands is saying you have this beautiful home that you haven't been able to enjoy because you've been so busy working. Because that's what the Knight of Pentacles is, somebody who's very driven to work and to amass money. And really, this would be saying, what is it for? If you're working so hard for this home and you don't have enough time to enjoy it beyond going home, eating, going to bed, and wash, rinse, repeat, and even on the weekends having to do a bunch of chores to prepare for the next week, it's really the hamster wheel. And maybe now is the time that you're going to be able to enjoy your home. Maybe some of you are retiring. And that's what the Tower card is that you suddenly decide this is the time. And perhaps you were planning to stay longer and you just can't do it anymore. And you want that. You want to kind of like to enjoy the fruits of your labor, which makes perfect sense to me. The card that crosses you is the Hermit card. Let's look at this particular depiction of the Hermit. You know what strikes me about this card is it reminds me of the Fool card in the Rider-Waite deck with the dog and the cliff. But you notice how in this deck, he's not, you know, looking up at the sky. He's looking at his light. I think he is. The lantern represents the inner light, seeking the inner wisdom. By the way, I could be wrong about that now that I think about it. Maybe in the Rider-Waite deck, that person is on a mountain too. And I never really paid attention. But the two archetypes, or symbols, if you want to call them, of the mountain, which to me represents spiritual attainment, you know, the higher consciousness, and then the light, which is also the light of the soul. But this is the challenge position. So in the upright position, this card represents seeking wisdom, you know, going within. And when it's challenging your situation, some Gemini people may not be kind of going there. They might be too much in their logic, whatever that means to them. Too caught up in the world and seeing things just from that mundane perspective, which sometimes it makes a lot of sense. It's very practical. It allows you to navigate life better. But in other cases, it can lead to being, what do they call that? I was going to say blindsided, but yeah, having blinders on, where you're just so focused on your job that you don't see that you have a life outside of that job. That's what the Knight of Pentacles means to me. Somebody who is not really looking at the bigger picture, is so like hyper-focused on making money. And that's only one dimension of life. There's nothing wrong with it, per se. But we have to be balanced. And so what is coming in for you is represented by the Prince of Cups. So this is the Knight of Cups, your knight in shining armor. An offer. So this could be a job offer. And this is the kind of thing that makes you feel like, you know, this is what all of this was about. You know, that's all the drama that I had to go through. It was to get me to this place that I would have never gotten to had this not happened to me. You know? And we always see that in retrospect, but it's so hard in that moment to know that this is for your highest good. I get it. I've been there. I've done that. The Prince of Cups, the Knight of Cups, can be a person who comes into your life who is somebody that is more of a soulful companion. Somebody who is an artistic companion. You know, kind of those, what we call those spiritual values. So we have the Knight of Pentacles and we have the Knight of Cups. Now, this person could be a Pisces. It could be a Cancer or a Scorpio individual. Or they, you know, maybe they're a fellow air sign like Libra, but they have a moon in Scorpio. So it gives them that emotional depth that a typical Libra person doesn't necessarily demonstrate, you know, based on the pure personality of Libra. So this person is not here to save you, but is here to honor you, is here to show you that you matter to them. You may have been with a workaholic who you never felt that you could deal with. But, you know, thinking about when I said workaholic and I looked at that tower again, remember what I said, or did I say? Because this is the second time I've been doing this reading. The full moon in the 8th house, which is other people's resources in Capricorn, at the end of the month, 28th. That could be the ending of a partner's money. And that may be what the tower is. And you feel like, you know, your house is in jeopardy, perhaps. That's what you're thinking about. But the spiritual message of the Four of Wands is what constitutes a home. It's not the building. Anyone, we can always be happy in our dwelling, wherever it is. If it's a mansion, you can be miserable in a mansion. You could be happy in a very small house or apartment if you're with the right person and if you have the right frame of mind. So whenever we're too attached to an outer thing, we become slaves to it. So that if something, you know, the Tower card is about life happening. Things happen that are beyond our control sometimes. And if we're always thinking, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to do this? The less you're dependent on your job to provide you that sense of security, the better, because there is no sense of security in life from outer things. Anything can happen to outer things, to resources, to anything. You have to have that sense of inner calm, you know. And so I go back to the hermit. That sense of wisdom that knows that this is a world that is all about change. And there's no stopping it. I don't have to lecture you about change, but just to remind you. The outcome is the Nine of Swords, and I did pick an additional card because there are certain cards like the Nine of Swords that I don't end on because they're not cards of resolution. And it's not simply because, oh wow, that's a negative card. It's because it really is a confusing ending to the reading. Why would you be anxious? I don't look at this as that per se. You may have a for some of you, this may be like two people that are involved. Again, there may be another person that you have met who is more like the Knight of Cups than the Knight of Pentacles. And perhaps you are with the Knight of Pentacles. And so you feel this sense of anguish because you don't know which direction to go in. And you feel like, you know, what should I do? And so I picked a clarification card, and it's the Knight of Wands. So this is something that is showing that life is, you know, it may feel like there are times where you're living in a vacuum. I know I felt like that, have felt like that in different respects sometimes, where it's like, it seems like everything grinds to a halt. And then all of a sudden there's all this activity, a flurry of activity. The Eight of Wands is about feeling that sense of life speeding up, important decisions that maybe have to be made on the fly. If this is associated with that Prince of Cups in terms of, well, I think it might be, job offer, you may have to just really throw caution to the wind, depending on your situation, of course. But in other words, not be too into deliberating, should I do this or not do it? Just take a chance and see what happens, and because it's almost like limited time offer. But you may be back and forth with somebody in a very kind of, what do you call it? A very flurry of activity, a very passionate way. This person may be a fire sign, and that, you know, that's a compatible element for you, Gemini, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. And so you may feel like your zest for living is coming back. Perhaps you were in kind of in the doldrums, and now you feel like there's something interesting happening in your life again, passionate happening in your life again, and you are just springing into action as a result, because you really are a sign that is associated with a lot of activity yourself, but something might have kind of slowed that down. Again, you can thank the Tower for that, because it's kind of this card of things getting you know, bursting wide open. By the way, you know, kind of thinking about that Hermit card being above the Tower, it might be the Tower card might be an internal thing for you, where you realize, yeah, eureka, you know, an aha moment that blows away that kind of that, I would say for Gemini, that inherent skepticism that you may have about spiritual matters, and something just is so undeniable that you are forced to follow it wherever it takes you. Okay, well, that's what I have for you, Gemini. If you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. For all of you late degree Geminis, happy birthday. Take care. Bye.